It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Maria Espinoza. Maria Espinoza is the national director of the Remembrance Project, which honors and remembers Americans and legal residents who have been killed by illegal aliens. Maria, welcome to Conduit News.
Good morning, Paul. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Will you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you became the national director of the Remembrance Project?
Right. Well, my background starts here in Texas when, my father was born in Mexico and came here the right way. We all encourage these nationals to do, and not sneak it in the back door. And, my husband, Tim Ling, and I started the Remembrance Project in 2009 here in Houston, Texas, after seeing an report, of Officer Henry Canales, who was shot and killed by an illegal alien during the sting operation. And within that report, they also mentioned that there was another police officer who had been killed by another illegal alien, shot 4 or 5 times in the back of the head, and his name was Rodney Johnson. You might recall his name. Officer Johnson's widow filed a lawsuit against the city, and that's what intrigued me. I'm a former legal assistant, and I thought what warranted a lawsuit when there was an in-line of duty death, as tragic as it is, Paul, there was something that went wrong in this case, and that's where we learned about sanctuary city policies. We had never heard of them before. I took it, very personal in the fact that illegal aliens were basically untouchable. Laws are for citizens, apparently, only, and that the city of Houston is protecting illegal aliens. So we went to work and talked to elected officials. First of all, they denied this sanctuary city policy even existed, and denied that illegal aliens, that many, were here. But through our research, my husband, Tim Ling, researched Texas killings by illegal aliens. Of course, they call them immigrants. So you have to get that right in your search. He expanded his search to the other states and found that there was an epidemic of killings by illegal aliens. So, we approached the elected officials with our information, denied it, lied to us, and then, eventually really just shutting us out. So we created the Stolen Lives Quilt. This is a visual memorial to the victims killed in all preventable killings, Paul. So here we are, found ourselves right in the middle of a very hot topic, and Donald Trump, when he first announced, reached out to us and wanted to highlight the cases, and we said absolutely. He's the only person who has ever embraced the Remembrance Project and the angel families, and said that he was going to do something about it. And he is trying. He created the Office of Voice, Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement, last year. We just celebrated the 1-year anniversary as a promise to the Remembrance Project that he would do more for the families.
Yeah, I remember him making that announcement. I thought that was a really bold move. He does a great job when it comes to, just like any president can do, using the bully pulpit to bring to the attention of the American people issues that a lot of us don't know about. And this is something that has been overlooked. I think, though, when you look at the international backdrop right now, you look at the immigration issues that are going on in Europe, and you look at what's happening, and when it comes to the increase in crime there, the increase in killings, the increase in sexual assault, and yet, here in the United States, this has been happening in the United States a lot longer than this, migration situation, that's been going on in Europe, within reason. Obviously, the London, that they've been having that go on for a while as well. So, how do we get the news out there even more, Maria? What are your thoughts on that?
We keep talking. That's why, I'm had over probably 300 interviews since the first of the year, and we just keep talking about it and, sharing the information and making people listen, because this is the only way we're going to be able to educate the masses. As you know, President Trump is up against the fake news. They don't give us, any time and absolutely no ink. And if they do, it's very edited, and we're out to be the villains. And here are, tens of thousands of Americans being killed and permanently separated from their loved ones. But where is the outcry for our families right here on our own soil? I believe there was a Breitbart article where there were 129, I believe. I'm a little bit foggy. I'm getting over a cold, Paul. Versus one story about Americans killed by illegal aliens compared to the many, many stories of the illegal alien and what's going on with them. They have these stories and separation of children, and here our children are permanently separated from our loved ones. And yet, remember that if an American breaks the law, they get charged and convicted, they go to jail. And whether they have a child at home or not. So it's okay to separate Americans from their families, but it's not okay to separate illegal aliens who, number one, put themselves in that situation knowingly, and then, of course, the outcry is for them. It's completely backwards right now.
Yeah, it really seems you can see their long game kind of coming to fruition here when it comes to how they've changed the definitions of words. It used to be illegal alien, then it was illegal immigrant, now it's undocumented immigrant. And so this concept, Maria, that what they've done here is they're basically saying that it's not a crime. So, it's obvious that if I'm driving with my daughter and I do something in the car that's illegal and I need to be taken to jail, it's obvious my daughter's not going to come with me to jail. They're going to separate us, right? Because it's a crime.
Absolutely.
So they've they're trying to win this battle of words, redefining what things mean. And so what they're saying is, you know what? It's not a crime to come here illegally.
Absolutely. And what that's doing is, of course, with the open borders, erasing our borders. We are not a country without our borders, and shredding our Constitution. But all these playing around with laws, and California has done this as well, of course, and Massachusetts, Maryland, and where they are fundamentally undermining the basis for any laws to be obeyed. And that's a very dangerous slope right now. So, we can pick and choose which laws we want to enforce upon the illegal alien. And now we're letting them get away with it. And then now you see what Governor Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, did, giving himself issuing an executive order, giving himself authority to be able to pardon these ex-cons so now that they can vote. So he's allowed 35,000 felons to vote now. So, Paul, what are we becoming? We're becoming a lawless nation with chaos and mayhem. And the rest of us are standing around going, what has happened to my America? But if we don't, get active, and I encourage every one of your listeners, we've seen what two people, and my husband and myself, have done, and totally just, I can't tell you, we were just moved, Paul, to do this and to keep on. And I'm 100% volunteer. I put my small company on hold. My husband was a professional engineer, certainly not independently wealthy. He made a good living. But now here we are, using our retirement to try to save this country. I cannot have a small business like my parents had if I don't have a country, Paul, and that's what it's coming down to.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think a lot of people feel that way, and I appreciate you sacrificing to promote this cause. We're talking with Maria Espinoza. She's the director of the Remembrance Project. You can find out more at the remembranceproject.org. You used the phrase, Maria, earlier, preventable deaths. That's the whole point here. These deaths are preventable if we had an immigration policy that made sense. President Trump tweeted recently, it's in the news, all of the morning headlines, he's willing to shut down the government if he doesn't get funding for the wall. So a couple questions here, Maria. Do you think that a wall is going to help decrease, illegal immigration? Let's just start there.
Absolutely. Walls work, our doors work. We all lock our doors, our cars. We need a wall, and it would prevent these illegal aliens from easily crossing over. There is no way our agents can control that border right now. I've been along that border. I've been on night watches, watching these illegal aliens with backpacks loaded with drugs coming across, and I was 60 miles north of our border. So absolutely, it's due the American public. 40 years we've been waiting for this, and these politicians know exactly what they're doing. They don't want that security because they are owned, Paul, by these open borders groups who shell out a lot of money for their reelection campaigns. I say they fill their coffers with this blood money, while American children are filling coffins.
Yeah, I was reading a story today about the Koch brothers, matter of fact, and how they had they had a conference call with some of their donors, and they were saying that they might support Democrats if the Democrats will oppose the tariffs that President Trump is on, but also they also reported it. Look, we don't want the type of border security. At least that was the Breitbart article I was reading. We want this to continue, because right now, let's just talk about this, Maria. If we have a decrease in illegal immigration, we're going to have wages rise eventually. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I know individuals who owned small companies, mom and pop shops, Paul. This is what we're talking about. And they cannot compete with another company that illegally hires these illegal aliens. And because, look, the standard of living is totally different. We live here. These illegal aliens, for now, are 10 men in an apartment. So, yes, they can make, $2 an hour and survive just fine. And they send their money back home. As we know, the dollar is much stronger in Mexico. So our mom and pop shops, like my parents had, eventually, are going out of business. And there are no jobs that can sustain Americans if this continues.
So the first question was, do you think a border wall is going to stop illegal immigration? You said yes. What about shutting down the government? What do you think? You think it's time to stare down across the aisle and say, hey, listen, this is what I was elected to do, and you guys need to fund it?
Well, I think they're doing a poor job anyway. They're supposed to be having these budgets, 12 different budgets. No, they're throwing everything in one lump together so that we're forced. They're trying to force the American people to accept this, and we have with this omnibus bill and all that's going on. But take a look. You ask these families whose loved ones are 6 feet under, never to see them again, and all the turmoil that they've had to go through, where they're not getting calls. They want to know why this illegal alien who was 4 or 5, even 10 times deported or spent time in jail and was released and remained in our country to have access to their loved ones. Mm-hmm. You ask them, what's it worth to you? I say yes, shut down the government. That is because we've had it. They can't hold us, threaten us any longer as we're watching our country be ruined. I would rather them just go home and have them work on enforcing existing laws. We don't need any new ones where they're creating loopholes, Paul, to be able to get those funding from the open borders groups. And those open borders groups, they're owned by people who are pretty well off, and they're not living where we live.
You mentioned at the beginning of the interview, Maria, that you got started, you and your husband, by trying to fight the sanctuary policies of Houston, Texas. Now, for all of our listeners across the state of Arkansas, that may be a little surprising to us because we kind of look at Texas a little differently. But I do know Houston, the city of Houston, has some strange policies. I remember a story a long time ago about how they made it illegal to feed the homeless, I think, off the top of my head. But so tell us, though, is Houston still a sanctuary city, in your opinion?
In my opinion, yes. However, because, and this happened in the last few years, because they cooperate with the federal government on other matters, they do not consider themselves a sanctuary city. So, for me, Either you enforce and collaborate with the federal government on every aspect, or you don't. And they can't, again, pick and choose which laws that they want to enforce and abide by. And unfortunately, that these elected officials have immunity when it comes to being held accountable should there be a casualty because of their policies. That's very unfortunate, but I think that, and it's been tried and trying to go after these individuals, and there's a discretionary function, qualified immunity. And I think that what these sanctuary city mayors and governors are doing, especially with the sanctuary city policies, I feel that their qualified immunity should not apply. So I think that they should be held accountable and prosecuted. There are very stiff laws in the code.
Yeah, and that may be what President Trump and the executive branch have to do before it's all said and done. And it's reminiscent of when President Reagan had a standoff with the air traffic controllers who went on strike, and eventually he just had to say, okay, you're gone, I'll bring in the military, and they'll do your job. And, you just got fired. And there are people that, I've talked to people that are my age whose parents were, they were air traffic controllers, and then they lost their job. That it may be a similar situation, but even higher stakes when Donald Trump eventually is going to have to deal with cities here who are just blatantly ignoring and enabling these preventable deaths that the Remembrance Project is all about. And Maria, I'll give you the last word.
Okay, and there are many other crimes too, Paul. Really quick, for instance, over 600,000 crimes were committed against Texans alone. So there's many other crimes that this is attached to. But I want to thank you and keep up the good work, Paul. Continue spreading the word. And I ask for your listeners to go to our website, theremembranceproject.org, sign up for our emails. And if you can afford anything, just please make a donation. We're going to come create more Stone Lives Quilt banners and send those out to all over the United States. So we need help.
Maria Espinoza, I appreciate it so much. It's great to meet you. I'd love to do this again sometime.
Absolutely, Paul. God bless you.
All right.
Pray for our president and our country.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Maria Espinoza, everybody, the director of the Remembrance Project. Go there now, theremembranceproject.org, theremembranceproject.org. Check them out, and we're going to take a break. Good morning to you. Back in just a moment.